Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Barry Johnston, your host. My co-host, as always, Mr. Adam Beebe. Adam, how you doing?
Hey Barry, I am doing really well today. Thank you very much.
We've got a pretty exciting episode today. We're marrying our old selves with our new selves and bringing an old friend, two old friends, into a discussion today.
That's right. Today we are joined by our special Bigfoot and cryptid correspondent, Jeff Hubbard. You may remember his voice as the voice of the listener. He reads your reviews, and he will be reading the write-in stories. But you also may remember him from the classic episode with his sister, We Got a Ouija Board for Christmas. Joining us today for the first time is Jeff. So, Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Looking forward to today's episode and getting to talk a little bit about one of my favorite subjects, Bigfoot.
Yeah, so a little backstory here. We went to the Bigfoot Festival together, all of us.
Yeah.
And first day we got there, within the first 5 or 10 minutes of us walking around, we run into an old classmate, and that kind of leads us to where we're at now with this episode, because she agreed to come on.
So knowing that, obviously she's got a Bigfoot story. She's a Bigfoot fan, but man, she's got a whole bunch of stories for us. She's got a lot of stuff, a lot of creepy, spooky stuff, and a lot of fun stuff. And she's First Nation, Native American, and she shares a lot of that culture with us in this episode, which is really, really, really cool. And I found it very enlightening and a lot of fun. Yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff about creatures and mythological creatures that I had no idea, existed.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to have Jeff, since this is your first time with us, you get the honors of introducing our guest and asking the titular question.
Okay, I'm very excited about this. Becky Whitebird, what's your weird story?
Okay, so back in 2000 at Lucky Star Casino, I was the assistant manager. There was two of us. We had two assistant managers.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the restaurant, and a video came out of a Bigfoot at the casino. Well, let me tell you what happened before the video and why it came up to the casino. We worked in the kitchen, and we did a lot of prep work. So they have a big buffalo pen next to the casino. We would take all our scraps, like our tomatoes, our potato peels, the lettuce, anything that we could, onions. And so we decided, let's go feed the buffalo.
And these are real American buffalo bison.
Yeah.
Okay. Just make
the mean
one.
I'll tell you about that too. So we decided after we got done prepping for the day, got everything in the oven. Since I was the smallest one out of all the guys that worked there, I would have to climb through the fence, take the 5-gallon bucket, probably about 50 yards, and dump it. And then we would hear, this is probably about 6, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wintertime. It was probably in, I want to say March. And so I would take it out there and I'd dump it, and we'd always hear whistles or like grunts. So I thought, oh crap, the buffalo are coming. I got to hurry up and get back. So we would do this. We did this for about 2 weeks. And then after the 2 weeks, they finally told us, you need to stop. you guys cannot feed them anymore. Do not be feeding them. Well, we found out why. I come into work one morning. It was probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And Darren, he's gone now. He passed away in 2003. He told me, he said, hey, come here. I got to show you something. And I was like, what? He's like, come on. I want to show you something. I was like, man, it is cold outside. I do not want to go back out. He takes us out the back door where the security footage was taken. And he takes me to a field that had just been plowed not too long ago. And you see these boards out there. And I was like, why are the boards out in the field? Well, I guess the guys had been walking on it so not to contaminate the field. Mm-hmm. And they had already been out there. People had already been out there that morning. And we went through the barbed wire fence, and they had footprints walking off through that field back to the woods. Because there's a flat field, and then probably about 50 yards from it, there's a slope that goes down into a clump of trees. And they were going that way.
Wow. So, how big were they?
Well, Darren, he wore a size 15 boot. He always wore cowboy boots. And these were probably about 3 inches longer from the toe out, and then probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches on the side.
That's a big foot.
That's a big foot. Yeah. Damn right.
I mean, it had a pretty good indent. Like, if you step down into the ground, you know how you go down? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he couldn't even make the indent next to it.
Because it was so heavy?
Yeah. And he was and Darren weighed 225 pounds.
Wow.
That's what was the littlest one out of all them guys. All them guys weighed like 300 pounds. That worked back then.
You're tall. You're probably what, like 5'8", 5'9"?
5'9".
Yeah, you're a tall lady. So those are some big old boys that you were running there with, and they're still tiny to the Bigfoot. It shocked us. I was like, okay, I don't feel comfortable. Let's go back in. He said, well, I got something else to show you. I was like, okay, as long as we're not going into the woods, I'm fine. But we had a friend that worked security, and I found out not too long ago that I didn't realize if you didn't work security, you can't go into the security room. Mm-hmm. But we had to hook up because I used to feed the security guys free food all the time. So they didn't
Off the record, unofficially.
I don't. But now I don't work there anymore.
Oh, so. Okay. So we're good to talk.
Yeah. So we had a friend that was back there, and he let us in, and he showed us the video. And it had happened probably around 3 o'clock in the morning. But get this. Me and Darren had left the night before, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. Because we stayed and cleaned the kitchen and everything. We changed the grills, and we had just taken grease out to that grease pit.
Whoa. And so describe the video, because I know you told us about it, but describe that video, if you would, for the listeners at home.
Okay. The video shows the back door goes straight out to the grease pit, which is about, I want to say 25 yards from the back door. Mm-hmm. And like the grease pit is standing under a light, and then there's like two great big huge trash cans. Mm-hmm. The video, it shows him walk up. You don't see where he walks up from, but you can see him walk across from like if I was at the back door, I'd walk from the right to the left to the trash can. And on the video, it shows him lift up the grease pit lid, take his hand, and like scoop it out and taste it. And then when he tastes it, he kind of shakes and walks off and walks past the trash can.
Wow. So this is on the property of the casino. This is a lit portion of the back of the casino that is all paved. Is that what it's all paved and the grease pits?
Yeah, it's paved up to the grease pit. The grease pit is right on the paved, and then after that, the grease pit, it goes to grass. And the field is probably 20 yards from the grease pit.
And then you were taking other things into the field, like the potatoes and discarded stuff that you were prepping and throwing it out in the field, right? Is that out that way, out in the same direction, sort of?
It was actually off where the trash cans are. It was behind the trash cans where we were doing this.
Okay.
So away from the video cameras.
God, man. Imagine if you had cameras over around that. You'd have lots of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So crazy, man.
So what happened to the tape?
I actually don't know, but from what I was told, they destroyed it. But there's somebody that is supposed to have a copy of it.
Mm-hmm. Why do they always got to destroy the shit?
Well, for one, the tribe didn't want people, because that's where they do Sundance and stuff.
Okay.
On the grounds. And I guess for years they have been seeing these Bigfoot come up to the Sundance ground, and the tribe wants them left alone.
Right.
They don't want them. And there was a bunch of crazy people coming up there, and after this had all happened, because let me tell you what happened. I called my dad after all this happened that morning. And 30 minutes later, after I talked to my dad, I get a call from News Channel 4. I told Dad, you're supposed to keep it quiet. And then the News Channel people showed up an hour and a half later.
Oh, they showed up?
Yeah, they showed up. And the casino got locked down because of the news people. And I'm hiding in the freezer because I'm going to lose my job. But they told them, they said, they just said no comment. They didn't know what they were talking about and stuff like that.
Hubbard, what, you being the Bigfoot aficionado that you are, what are your thoughts? You've heard this story, right, before? Or
Yeah. Actually, I'd heard this story from another one of my friends, and I always heard, why the video was destroyed. Why would they destroy the video? But after hearing, what Becky just said, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, Cheyenne, Arapaho, they've got this place out there that's their own. It's it's Concho. They don't want to be bothered. They, and from what I know, there's a lot of Native American stories that date back centuries about Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know, if they're looked upon as like, some kind of a god in a Native American religion. But I mean, it would make sense. You wouldn't want anybody messing with your Bigfoot if you did, kind of hold them high on a pedestal.
Yeah.
So I did have a question, though. I mean, Becky, in the video, could you tell how large of a creature it was? Could you tell by, the size, how big the trash cans are? Did he look a lot bigger than say, if it was a normal man that was doing the same thing?
Yeah. Everybody tries to tell us that he was 10 foot tall. There's no way. I mean, from seeing the video and knowing where the grease pit and the light was and that was next to it, it had to be somewhere around 7 or 8 foot tall. Okay.
That, to me, makes more sense with the description of the foot being just, probably like, I guess, size 18, I guess, would be the closest approximation. That, because, I mean, 10 foot tall would be you're probably
much larger.
Yeah. And I mean, your foot part of the reason that Bigfoot, biologically speaking, and I think Jeff can back me up here because Jeff also has a degree in biology. Part of the reason that the foot is so big is because it's such a big creature that walks on, 2 legs. So it needs that big balancing, big thing for traction and to being able to keep upright, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So yeah, so Becky, I think you're probably spot on about that. Thinking that it's probably closer to around the 8 foot range.
Why? Because Darren was 6. He was probably 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
He was and the girls used to mess around with him when we were out there, and he would try to throw him up to that light. So that light had to be about 8 foot. It was not 10 foot or 12 foot tall like everybody say, because they would try to hang from that light.
Mm-hmm.
When because he was always scaring everybody when we were out there. And when we would take trash out at night and stuff, and he would always say, I'll give somebody $100 if they can jump up and touch that light. And I mean, he could put his arm up and almost just straight up reach it.
Wow.
So it had to be pretty, it couldn't have been 10 foot tall.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, no.
So, and what was the video quality like? Was it, well, I know it was taken at night, but, was it a night vision, or was it, was it lit well enough? Was it grainy? Was it clear?
Grainy. You could tell it was grainy, and it wasn't like real clear, but you could tell on the picture what it was.
I
think it's fascinating. Sorry, go ahead, Becky.
As I say, when the arm reached out to open the lid, you could see the hair hanging, because it had to be like 3 inches long on that arm.
That's what I was going to ask, is could you tell it had fur, or,
Yeah. Wow. You could tell. You could tell how big the hands were. The hands were huge. His hands moved like a human when he scooped up. He kept his thumb out. You could see the thumb. It freaked me out. That's all I know.
Wow.
The thing that really interests, like I was going to say, the thing that I find interesting is the fact that you described how he scooped up the goop, because probably thought, oh, this smells all right, maybe. And then he tasted it, and he like basically gagged, he shook his head and was like, no, and walked away. And I think that's a very I think anybody would have that reaction. I think that's a detail that makes it so poignant. So that little bit is just like fascinating. It's really cool.
Were there ever other tracks that were found out in that field, or, around that area?
I don't know about any of the tracks, but I know there was other sightings after that.
Okay.
There's a train track that goes through Concho back there. And I know people had seen them out around their houses and stuff.
How big is that area back there? Is that a huge plot of land back there, or?
It goes back pretty far.
Yeah. 40.
I haven't been out there.
Yeah. Because I was trying to think of that hub. Do you know?
Well, I was going to ask if you knew how many acres, or do you know how big the total reservation is there?
I don't know, but I do know that it almost hit. I know it does almost hit El Reno.
Really?
Oh, that's huge. That's huge, because you're about, 15, 20 minutes outside of El Reno at that point? 10 minutes? Something like that, right? Yeah. Am I right?
And I think it's almost hit Gary, if not into Gary.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea.
Because I know that back road, if you go the back roads through there, you can get to Gary and Watonga. And I know that some of that is tribal land.
Wow, okay.
Oh,
that is large.
That's big. That's big.
Not only that, doesn't it share border with Fort Reno there in El Reno, I think? Would they abut against each other? And I think that's got a pretty big acreage with lots of tree coverage on it as well.
Yeah. Because there's a river that's back there behind Fort Reno.
Behind Fort Reno? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's a river that goes back there.
Okay. Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
And I guess, yeah, go ahead, Hub.
I was just going to say, that seems like that would be a great Bigfoot habitat. I mean, you've got Fort Reno out there. There's not a lot of people running around out there. You've got a river running through it. You've got tribal land that runs. I don't know how far Highway 81 is, all the way out west to Geary, but that's a long way. That's miles, 30 miles probably.
Oh, yeah, so that's
at
what
least.
I was going to say. Yeah, because from Kingfisher to Watonga is 30-ish miles, and you're even further down south when you get down there to where the casino and the reservation area is. So that's a good chunk of freaking land for sure.
Yeah, because I know the area is Kingfisher, Gary, Watonga, Clinton, and I want to say Calumet.
Okay.
All that tribal area. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm also interested, when you said you were taking the scraps from the kitchen out to the buffalo, and you said you heard some noises, but maybe you thought they were buffalo, but it could have been Bigfoot communicating with each other that dinner is served, and the hoops and hollers that you were hearing were maybe Bigfoot saying, "Hey, dinner's on the table, let's eat."
Yeah, we thought that too after they told us to quit and the video came out. We think that came up to the grease trap is because we stopped feeding them.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So he's coming in closer.
Yeah, it was actually a week after that we stopped feeding them that we stopped putting the scraps out that they came up. That one came up.
Had you heard about any sightings beforehand?
Not at the reservation. Not at Concho. I haven't.
Okay.
But I've always Bigfoot, so I've heard about everybody else's.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the gentleman that we spoke to at the Bigfoot festival, he had claimed, and hopefully we can get him on, but he had claimed that he had a couple of sightings, I think possibly in the same sort of location.
Yeah, it was the same area.
And it was like he would always see it on the edge of the tree line. But I think he said he saw it like 2 or 3 times or something like that.
Yeah, he said he had tracked it at one point, and then it kind of flipped around on him.
And he came face to face with it at one point.
Yeah. And well, he said. I also remember he said they were doing some work, and he took a picture, and it just appeared in one of the pictures way off in the distance, and everybody was like freaking out. So.
I read that one in one of the books about the tribal Bigfoot. About that happening. So, but we did, after the video came out and everything, we would ride around when we would close at night and just go out on the back roads looking.
Well, heck, I would.
Hell yeah. That would be a lot of fun, man.
I think people don't understand too, like, because when you're down, like in that area, or like where we were down in Tallahena, man, there's a lot of land. There's a lot of open space.
Yeah.
And if something like that were to be around, I mean, that's where I'd expect it to be,
That's wild.
Yeah, lots of places to hide. Big country.
Now, there's a couple of guys that do investigations in El Reno. My friend Troy, he is friends with them, and they've seen them off that Highway 81 bridge, that old bridge.
Yeah.
He's down out around there. So,
wow.
So I know they're close to El Reno.
Interesting.
But after that, I hadn't seen or heard anything about Bigfoot on the tribal. But then they had Sundance that year, and I know that they said that they had seen them, a couple of them come up and stay out of the firelight, but you could see them come up and around.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what is how does in the culture, in your tribal culture, how do you guys look at Bigfoot? I mean, how is he like this? What's the perception of Bigfoot?
To me, I think they're somehow related to the Native American people from a long time ago. Mm-hmm. When you talk to older people, like my dad and them, some of them think they're like the lost tribe or the lost. How did he put it? They're part of the lost 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay.
Banished.
Right.
But a lot of the Native Americans think they're related to Native Americans that have broke off a long time ago.
Okay.
So that's why we're always told if you don't bother, or if you see one and you feel threatened, if you speak to it in your native language, they understand.
Cool.
Huh.
Like, I need to brush up on my Cheyenne.
I think we may have just found the episode title right there.
That's great. That's awesome.
Ho, 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 ho. I'm still working on the laugh. But it's been my lifelong ambition to be Santa Claus, a real life Santa.
You've been talking about that for quite a while.
Dude, I've been born with the body. I am designed by nature to be Santa Claus. I've got Beyond, Dad Bod, I've got Santa Bod. So, you guys out there in What's Your Weird Story land, we're coming up on Christmas. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas or any of the other end of the year holidays, we thought it'd be cool to have a themed story episode.
If you saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus, if you saw something coming down the chimney, if you experienced a Christmas miracle, any of those things, we would love to hear it.
I swear at one time I saw Rudolph's red light.
I'm sure.
It snows. I swear that, dude. I
Absolutely.
swear.
Of course.
Yeah, so, if you got that stuff, man, we would love to hear that. And it'll be fun and lighthearted. Or even if it's dark, we want to hear it. And we'll have a special, and that'll be fun. So cool. Awesome. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah. I don't know where that came from. So, okay, cool. So I know that you said you'd mentioned something else that I was supposed to remind you of about a ghost.
Oh, that place! I don't know what. Concho has always been a hot spot for ghost activity. The casino, especially, we had all kinds of activity in the evening, during the day. People, one night before, I used to work the overnight shift from 7 to 7, and about 3:00 in the morning, I was out taking a break and I was smoking. And right inside our doors to the cafe, there's these big 4 coffee pot urns. And I'm sitting there, and the lids to them, all 4 of them hit the floor. Now, you have to unlock these. You have to move this bar across them. And all 4 of the bars were moved, and all 4 lids were laying on the floor. They hit the floor, and I was halfway across the casino before I figured out what it was.
Whoa.
I was like, but they caught them on security cameras of them coming off.
Wow.
Wow. Did you see that? Did you see that?
I didn't get to see the video to it.
Okay.
But security called me and said, what happened? I said, I have no idea. I was gone. I was like, because I had my back to it, and when they hit the floor, it was loud, and I took off across the hall.
Yeah.
So there's this the big coffee urn things, and they're all like the metal and like, and were they all attached to one thing, or were they all 4 of them hit separately but at the same time?
They're all 4 separate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you basically would have, if people did it, you had to have 2 people.
Yeah, you have
minimum.
To move them, and 2 to take. You just have to do the lids off of them.
Wow.
Dang.
And then we had one guy that he was, talking to somebody in a hallway. I guess it looked like he had called it in and said, "There's a lady having a seizure. I need medical." And guys from security said, "Who are you talking to? There's nobody there." And he was talking to somebody on the floor. And he said, "No, there's a lady." And then he looked back down and she was gone.
Whoa.
I just got crazy chills off of that. That's okay. So he called. I'm sorry. I gotta fuck me up a little bit. So he's seeing this lady have a seizure, and he calls security and says, "Hey, this lady behind me is having a seizure." And they're like, "There's no lady."
Yeah, they told him, said, "There's nobody there. Who are you talking to?"
Oh my God!
Gone.
Wow, that's intense.
And
That is crazy.
We had a little girl in the kitchen that would play hide and seek with us at night. And I don't think they ever caught her on video. That was what's weird, is because they never caught her. But like when you walk in to the cafe, the way it used to be, it's all different now. That you would walk in and then you would go to the left, and there would be where all the registers were, and then you could walk around to the kitchen, and then you could walk to the back where all the prep area, dishwasher, and everything is, and then to the right there's an office, and then the hallway to the back where the freezer, and then it goes to the back where the maintenance room was. Like there's double doors and everything back there, and you would see that little girl peek her head back around the corner from the office. And then
Whoa.
What did she look like?
I know she had black hair. I don't know if she was native or what, but sometimes it was weird because sometimes she'd have a little pink dress on and sometimes she'd have a little white dress on.
Wow.
But she had real long black hair, and you really couldn't see her face. It was like a blur.
Oh, that's creepy.
That is creepy, man.
Oh, that's super creepy. I love it.
So, but was she like opaque? Could you see through her?
I didn't see. We couldn't see her long enough. Like she didn't hold, like blurred. I mean, like gone.
Wow.
Just like real fast, you were peek around the corner and.
Oh my gosh. That's spooky.
Little kid ghost, man.
Yeah, for sure. Kids are the creepiest, man.
Dad used to work in maintenance, and at night when he would go in to clean the bathrooms, there was 4 huge bathrooms that they had to clean. And we had a big storm that night, and the electricity kept flickering on and off, and it was just creepy out there. It's just like a creepy vibe. And Dad said he walked into the bathroom and he heard the water turn on, and he could see hands like washing their hands, and just hands only.
Oh
and
my
he said,
God.
I slowly backed out, and he said, "Guys, I'm not cleaning that bathroom."
Oh my God.
Goodness.
That's
Just, oh my.
Out there.
Wow.
yeah, that's crazy.
And then see, like, my uncle stayed out there at the RV camp that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Dad was visiting, and one night they were sitting outside, and my dad said, "We seen this thing run by." He said it had to be about 4 feet high, and it looked like a hyena, but you couldn't see the bottom part of it. You could just see the top part. You could see like the front legs. The back was straight up, it wasn't like a dog because it was slanted when it ran. Like the back legs were than the front leg.
Whoa.
But you could see the back legs. He said you could just see half of it, and it ran by.
Wow.
He was like, "I gotta go."
Yeah. That doesn't sound good.
That sounds like I don't know. Is there a comparable? I mean, okay, so I know out further west, they have the skinwalkers. Is there something comparable that you guys know of there?
For me, what I think skinwalkers are is when it's kind of like shape-shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, skinwalker is when another person can shift into another person.
Oh, into another person.
See, I don't know what a skinwalker. I guess I'd have to see one to find out what it is, but I don't want to.
What I've always heard is that I guess mostly what I've heard about skinwalkers is they're kind of like werewolves or something like that, where it's people who transform into a kind of a wolf or a dog or something kind of creature, or even the full animal version of it. But of course, it's a more supernatural version of the creature or the animal. But it's definitely about a kind of a change, a transformation from one to another. So
That's what I call the dog man.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if different tribes believe different things about skinwalkers. Like a skinwalker to the Navajo may be a werewolf.
Right.
A dog man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It could.
Yeah.
It could be. It could be that, just similar creatures with just different names because of the different culture and the different languages. So, that would make sense because, you've got like Bigfoot is, I guess for lack of better terms, the generic American name, but there's Sasquatch and there's Yeti and there's a dozen others that I'm sure that Jeff knows.
Skunk ape.
The skunk ape, yeah, yeah. I know the one I always remember is the in Australia it's a yowie.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Down south, they're boogers.
What's that?
Down south, they're called boogers.
Boogers?
Like, yeah, down in Alabama and Mississippi and all that, they call them boogers.
Really?
Huh.
Huh. Yeah, see, you learn something every day. That's all.
Yeah.
The booger man.
That's exactly what it was when back in like the 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call booger man. That's why boogers stuck around. They call them boogers.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So we want to try an experiment. We want to get stories from you, the listener, for us to read on air.
What we're saying is if you don't feel comfortable being interviewed on air, you can type up your story and send it to us, and we will have it read, and we'll share your story that way.
It'll be a cross between us telling your story and our reactions to your story.
So what we'll probably do is have a third party read your stories, and we'll react as we typically do.
And we want to try this as an experiment. It's an idea that we've come up with.
Now, granted, we can't ask you the questions we would normally ask someone who is involved in the story, but we may have our reader just make up stuff.
That could be part of the charm.
And it's a little silly, but we're going to try it, and it'll be fun.
Becky, I was, when you were talking about the dog and you were talking about it being like 4 foot high, I thought you were getting ready to talk about the little people. And I kind of wondered what your thoughts on that was, or maybe if you could just explain to us a little bit about the little people.
Well,
Sounds like there's a little person yelling in the background there.
There is a little person back there.
Jeff's daughter is entertaining herself. So.
yeah, mine decided to go with my brother, so I was like, yay. Because she's real social, so she'd probably been up here trying to get into everybody's business. But now I have heard about the little people. I have never seen one. But I know at Concho, they have a Head Start there. And one day, they have a fence around the Head Start. And I always wondered why. I was like, well, I understand, it's right there by the woods and everything, but they have like a chain link fence. And I was like, I wonder why they have such a big fence around that yard. Well, come to find out, it's because they had a littler one, but they put a taller one up. It's because the kids were seeing these little people, and these little people were telling them to come with them, like waving them over. And they would go to they said, why are they summoning us to come with them into the woods? And they're like, who? And they would see these little people running by the fence over there, and they would go. They took the kids in school and locked the school down.
Wow.
Now, is it true that if you do follow, if you're summoned to the woods by one of these little people, and you do follow them into the woods, is it true that you then become a little person, or do they mean you harm, or what do you know anything about what would happen why would they want you to follow them into the woods?
Well, we were always told not to because they're mean.
Mm-hmm.
They would probably do harm. We were always told to stay away from them.
Okay.
If you see them, or get away from them. That's like we were told not to a natural spring. Don't ever drink out of a natural spring because of the spring man, which is the same thing as little people.
I've never heard of the
yeah.
spring man.
Yeah, it's just it's a little person. And for me, my dad, I don't know if it came from his parents or what, but he's always told us if you see little people, run or get away as fast. Because I guess they always, I don't know, me being native, I don't ask questions. If they tell me, run, just get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I started learning that a lot of them do mean harm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first story I had ever heard about the little people, Alan told me, my Native American friend Alan had told me a story. He was in a car one time going down the road. This was back when the speed limit was 55, and they were going down the road, and there were little people running alongside the car as they were going down the road. They were running 55 miles an hour, and that was the first I'd heard of it, and then that really got me interested in it. So I always like to hear stories about the little people.
Well, you know that bridge out there going towards College Hill down Robert?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a friend of my dad's that told him that one night he was walking from town to College Hill when College Hill barely had any houses out there. So this was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was walking and he could hear somebody walking behind him, so he started lighting cigarettes and he was dropping cigarettes behind him. He said he would see those little cigarettes go like 3 feet off the ground and they'd just be walking around.
Oh my gosh.
Yo.
That's so cool.
Whoa.
Wow. I remember one time we were hanging out with Alan, and he had just come from a funeral, and he was talking about how they had left, and they were bringing, and I think it was an older woman who had passed away, and they were bringing her out, and everybody was leaving after the ceremony, and he saw the deer woman, and that always was like intriguing to me. Do you know anything about the deer woman? Because I know that's a pretty big story, or I guess not story, but that's one I've heard a lot about, I guess. But
well,
maybe since I researched.
Really heard too much about the deer woman.
Okay.
I just know that, like, if she can't go over water, it's all I've actually heard. So, never seen one. And I don't hear that many stories about her.
I probably what happened is I probably went and researched after hearing about your woman, because that sounded so fascinating. Because from what I recall, he said it's like, a beautiful woman from the waist up, and maybe with antlers. I can't remember or not, but she's from the waist down a deer. So, kind of one of a half person, half animal creature.
Yeah.
But also usually not good, usually not a good thing to be encountering. So,
No, I've heard stories, but I really don't know that much about it. So, I know I did hear a story about a guy that said they were driving one night and they picked a woman up and they were getting ready to go over a bridge, and they looked down and you could see the hooves on her feet. And starting to go over the bridge, she jumped out of the truck and she couldn't go across the bridge.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that's basically the only story I've ever heard.
That's so cool.
That is cool.
These stories are great, and I thank you so much for sharing them. I mean, I just right now I want to say that before we get keep going, because I mean I love them. They're fantastic, And,
I have stories. I am a ghost magnet. That's all I have to say.
Well, then tell us, because we're here. This is what we thrive on. This is what it's all for.
Yeah, I have friends that are in the paranormal where they go and investigate, and they keep asking me to go, and I'm like, no, you guys, because time I get something bad happens, no. So that's why I don't stay out there with Troy and them down there by Talahina and all that, because I mean, I know a lot of activity and stuff goes on down there, but I'm like, I attract too much stuff. I don't want to see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, have you had anything else happen to you, like, that you've attracted, or do you feel like, any other kind of hauntings or anything like that, any other paranormal type activities?
Now, when I got with my ex-husband, a lot of stuff started happening with him in the house. Like, I don't know if it's because I moved in there or what, but like, you could, at night, they would leave their hall light on and we'd shut our door, and his mom was right there by ours, and you could hear people walking up and down the hall.
Ooh.
It's like see shadows at the door, and nobody would be there.
Oh, you shadow people?
Yeah. I see those all the time. If I go places, I see shadow people all the time. I had an old man at Walmart follow me in Seminole, and I kept thinking, why is he following me? And I turned around to ask him, and he was gone. And they were like, what are you doing? I said, there's an old man following me. And they was like, there's nobody behind you.
Oh,
that is spooky.
That's the second time I've got the cold chill. Maybe the third.
And I guess I've people that haven't been there. So, I mean, like, I can go somewhere. Where were we? I can't remember where we was at. And I was talking to somebody, and they were like, who are you talking to? And I was like, I'm talking to her. And they were like, there's nobody there. So I turned back, and there would be nobody standing there.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay, see y'all later, guys.
I don't blame you. We've interviewed a few people that have seemed like they're magnets, and it's not fun. And I think some people are like, "Oh, that'd be so cool," but then when you're that person, it's not that cool.
No, that's like they tell my mom when that old hospital in Kingfisher, the one high school.
Yep. I
have seen so much stuff in that hospital. It is not even funny.
I don't doubt it. That place had been there forever. Of course, now it's gone. They leveled that. It's gone now. That's kind of a sad thing. But yeah, that was. I don't between the old high school being there, and that old hospital. I mean, I wouldn't doubt there's some kind of activity, loads of activity, because without sounding too grim, so many people in our town and around it had probably died there,
Yeah.
It had to be full of stuff, because my dad, that's where he was when he passed away.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my grandmother, my mom's mom too, I believe she was there, but yeah, that had to be I would imagine a hot spot for sure.
Yeah, my grandmother's house was, right on the same block as that hospital. And my grandfather passed away there.
Yeah. Crazy.
That was fun. I had friends' at his house that I wouldn't even go into. And I didn't. I'm like, I'm not going to tell them there's something in this house. But I was like, nope, see y'all later. I'm done.
Don't want to freak them out.
No, and my old boss from Love, when I used to work there, I don't even know where it's at, but there's a big greenhouse down in the West Bottom, and it's going to turn it into a bed and breakfast. And she told me, she said, come look at it. Well, never even knew. I didn't know anything about the house. And so I walked in there and I was like, oh my God, who died in here? And she's like, what? And I was like, who died? I said, did you not hear that gunshot? And there was a guy that had shot himself on the second story.
Ooh.
And when you'd walk up the landing, it would be freezing cold. She said, yeah, this spot of the house in the summertime stays the coldest. Like, I wonder why, 'cause he died right there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I had to go up to the second story to see what she had done to that.
Dang.
Man.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so I carry sage wherever I go. I am
That's
always
a good idea.
Don't blame you.
my car. I have a big old stick of sage in the windshield, so my daughter can see stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she told us when we first moved into this house that we bought in Holdenville.
Mm-hmm.
She went into the and the light was off, and she come back out and she said, "Mama, there's a ghost in the kitchen." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "There's a ghost." And she said, "There's an old man in here." I was like, "Okay, break out the sage, open all the windows, open the doors."
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow.
No.
Have you had any more troubles there or any more sightings? So you got rid of it with the staging,
Yeah.
with the smudging, I guess that's what they call it. Yeah. Wow. Oh, because it's scary. It's even ghost kids are scary, but when little kids are telling you about ghosts, that's super creepy too.
And she'll just, like, if we go out, she'll tell me, she's like, there's something wrong with that guy. Or there's something wrong with that person. And I'm like, okay, stay away from him. Let's go.
Wow.
That's intense. Well, great. Well, hey, if you got anything more for us, fire away. Otherwise, we'll have to have you come back when you do think of more stuff.
I have to, because actually my boyfriend, since we got together, he's seen some stuff down this way. So, and I actually think he's seen a couple of Bigfoot around here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, there's a big lake out here towards Holdenville. Mm-hmm. And one night we were fixing to Abigail doesn't go to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we were trying to get her to go to sleep. And we had just went towards the bedroom in the hallway. And probably not even a quarter mile away from us, we could hear dogs barking. Like they were running back and forth, like they were chasing something. And then all of a sudden we heard this scream. It starts out, real deep, and then it goes into a high-pitched scream. And I was like, what was that? You did hear that, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that couldn't have been more than a quarter mile away from us.
Whoa.
Wow.
That is spooky and creepy and scary.
And when we had all the fires not too long ago, a couple years ago, he was riding his motorcycle back to Wetumpka at night. It was probably about 9 o'clock at night. And he said something large moved from one side of the cedar tree on the side of the road around it. And he said it was a full moon. And he seen that. And he said what scared him was how big it was. And I told him we should have stopped the next day and took pictures of that cedar tree. Because that cedar tree is probably about 8 foot tall. Mm-hmm. He said the thing was almost bigger than it.
Wow.
Whoa.
And we've seen a dog man or a chupacabra. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but we were coming back from Wetumpka to Holdenville, and on 75 highway, this dog thing ran in front of us, and I could barely see it over the hood of my car. But it didn't look like a normal dog. I thought, well, it's a Great Dane. And he said, no, it wasn't a Great Dane because Great Dane's legs, they're level, and the back of it slanted. Like the back legs were shorter. But it had no hair, and it was gray. It had this I don't know. The ears were weird on it because they didn't look like dog ears. So there's a lot of stuff down here too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Sounds like we need to come down and stay the weekend with you sometime, Becky, and see what we can get into.
Yeah, we'll go ghost hunting one night and Bigfoot hunting the next.
Yeah, the lake out here, they've said they've seen wolf prints that look like wolf prints, but they're not. They're bigger. They're like 3 times bigger than a wolf print.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's got to be a big-ass wolf print. I mean, that's got to be big. That's got whatever made that had to be huge.
They said they're saying it's a dog man.
Wow. Wow.
Man.
That's
great.
But, we've seen stuff down here. Like I hear stuff across the street, and see, we're not exactly right outside of town. We're just on the outskirt of town, and there's all kinds of stuff you can hear at night and everything. It's crazy.
Well, it would make sense because, things are coming in to just the outskirts to, dig around for food, see if you can find scraps or anything like that. And, it's still probably dark enough in those areas where, it can sneak in. So, that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. Even here, we don't have security lights. I have no security. You can step out off my front porch and see the stars crystal clear. But there's no lights around here.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't go out at night.
I don't blame you. Well, Becky, that was a lot of really awesome stuff, especially with the rapid fire bits there at the end. Where we just
great.
Just bam, 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 and we do. Oh, wow, oh. So
that was good stuff. I hope we didn't put you on the spot with some of that, but it was all great.
No, it's actually kind of nice now to be able to talk about it because I used to not talk about it when I was younger. So everybody's always like, "Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're nuts." And I was like, "Now I just don't care."
Yeah,
that's good.
Crazy old hair.
Well, that's the way. That's the way to be. Just people can believe it or not, but it's real. You experienced it, and that it's real to you, and we believe you. We've literally, we've all known you. Probably from preschool. So we're glad that you shared it with us because you were a little hesitant when we saw you down at the Bigfoot Fest, and you were a little hesitant. I think at first we were telling you what we were doing, and then when we were corresponding to set this up, you were a little hesitant, but we're all really grateful that you did come on because, man, those are some great,
great really
stories.
Great.
It's going to be a great episode.
A different perspective, which is fun,
Yeah, and and enlightening.
Yeah.
So we appreciate your sharing of not only your stories but your culture as well.
Yeah.
So that's
thank you, Becky.
Important thing. So.
It's not a problem.
You said okay. So you were saying we had actually just we'd wrapped up recording, but then you were commenting about Jeff, how his sister mentioned in their episode that they were at the cemetery there in Kingfisher and saw the blue orbs or the green orbs or whatever. You said you saw them too. So yeah, go ahead and tell us that.
We were out there one night, and you know how they always hung out back there behind the cemetery partying and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, we were out there one night, and everybody kept saying, "Hey, the cops are coming, look at those blue lights." And we looked off into the cemetery. I said, "Those are in the cemetery." I said, those aren't car lights. I said, "They're not cop lights." And you could see them move, like they would move up and down and side to side, and there was about 20 of them.
Wow.
That is really interesting.
She said that, I was like, man, I thought maybe we were the only ones that ever seen that.
Yeah, I kind of actually questioned whether my sister really did see that. But now that you have corroborating evidence, I
You owe an apology.
I really do. I really do. That is so weird.
That's why I didn't want to tell anybody, because back then I didn't drink or anything, and I didn't do anything like that. But I was like, nobody's going to believe us because we're back here. Everybody else was, and I was like, nobody's going to believe that we're back here seeing light.
Wow. That's crazy.
Man.
And I was talking to Chad, and I said, hey, somebody else seen the blue lights at the cemetery besides me. Was out there that night.
That's awesome.
Hey, well, one last thing before you go. This has been the question I've been asking everybody, because we're going to put together like a special episode sometime of mini stories. But did you ever play Bloody Mary or like Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, anything like that when you were a kid?
No, actually, I never have. Never messed with the Ouija board, anything like that. I've never done any of that.
Yeah, I was always too scared. So
yeah, I seen too much stuff when I was younger. No, I knew better than to do any of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you had enough ghosts coming to you. You didn't need to try to bring them in.
No, so no, but I used to watch my friends play though, but I've never done it. Like the Ouija board thing, I won't do it because I've seen too much stuff with Ouija boards. And I just won't. I'm like, nope, I don't even want to be near them.
So, but you saw people mess with them and stuff happened.
Yeah. We were at a friend's house one night and they were playing with the Ouija board, and all of a sudden the lights went out. And when the lights came back on, this shadow thing come running down the hall.
Whoa.
What?
Wow.
And I was like, it's time for me to go home.
You know when to hold them and when to fold them.
A wise woman indeed.
So we're looking for a little help from our friends. We need you, our loyal listeners, to help us spread the word about the What's Your Weird Story podcast. Just go to your current podcast provider, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, YouTube. We're just about everywhere. Hit the subscribe button, download the podcast, give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, give us the highest rating you can, and give us a review. The What's Your Weird Story podcast is a community effort. Without our friends and listeners, it wouldn't be possible to do what we do. So please, help us out by spreading the word.
Wow, Becky, wow. I know we said it 1,000 times during the episode, during the interview, but thanks again. Those were some amazing stories. Those were great stories. I'm known for having words, but I'm kind of at a loss.
Yeah, she was. It was funny because as she kept talking, she just kept remembering stuff, and it was like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, she's got a ton of stories, and kind of makes me want to get out and go for a drive around Concho and see what I can see.
No kidding. Well, I never realized how big of the plot of land that we were talking about. Because when we were at the Bigfoot Festival and we talked to that gentleman, he kept talking about sort of the same area. And I was like, man, I've been there and I'm trying to picture in my mind and I'm thinking, 40 acres, 80 acres. But no, I mean, we're talking about miles and miles of land.
Yeah, that's true. That's in a great spot with not a lot of human activity for a family of big feet to hide and go about their daily activities.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that they would kind of go there because how the native peoples have always been more respectful to nature than, say, us European types. They've held it in a higher regard in general, and they've been more in tune with it, I think. So, it seems like any kind of creature would be, if they're going to be around people, then they would flock to the areas where they're going to be less messed with. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense that why they got rid of that tape is because they don't want a bunch of people out there looking around.
Yeah, right. And I'm glad she decided to come on because she was hesitant in the beginning. I think not in what we were doing so much as maybe, her ability to tell the story in a way that didn't make her seem crazy, But that's the thing. It's like you're not, these stories, when you tell something like that, you're putting yourself on the line a little bit, and I appreciate her, allowing us to open that up a little bit,
Yeah, and when she opened up, and the floodgates just kept going,
Yeah.
And she kept, and I think she was mentioned that, she had other people that have tons of stories. So who knows? We might have Becky back on again, which would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine she's got some things that she wasn't able to recall today. It seems like she's got a lifetime of stories, so that would be cool.
I think if you go driving around with, sage in your car and in your back pocket, then you probably have had quite a few experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, thanks again for listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. Jeff, thank you for being here and being a great addition to the team. Barry and I both agree that you did a spectacular job.
Fantastic.
As an interviewer, as a rookie. And us we're so, we've been doing this for so long now, only 4 months. We're old hats.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to come on and talk about one of my passions, and thanks again, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff, before we go, in recent months, there was the election that was coming up, and one of the Republican candidates, I can't remember, but one of the states, I believe, it may have been West Virginia, I think, but it was out on the east side. But he was known for fandom of or fanaticism of Bigfoot, and also having written Bigfoot erotica. Have you read any Bigfoot erotica?
I've never even heard of this.
I don't know if I want to admit that on a worldwide podcast. But no, I haven't.
I didn't.
Okay, I want everybody to know that Jeff just said air quotes when he said no. So,
but no, it would be something that would, I would be interested in maybe checking out.
Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be?
So, all right. Well, hey, you heard it here. If you write Bigfoot erotica, send it in, and maybe we'll have a special for Valentine's where Jeff will read out Bigfoot erotica. We got to plan ahead. Got to give you guys some fun. So yeah. So thanks again, everybody. This has been a fun episode, and it's been a blast. So tune in next time for more weird stories from regular people just like you and me. So take care. As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast are, to our knowledge, true experiences that our guests have had. We can't take the time to research all